All right, thanks everyone for being here this evening on this September general meeting. I know it's back to school, just had Labor Day. Maybe some people are still out barbecue or camping and stuff like that. So don't worry, this will be available on YouTube later if you missed tonight. We have interpretation in the back if you guys need it. If anyone wants to join and be a member, we have membership forms also. Let's jump right into our first standing report with our sergeant.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meeting. I'm Sergeant Carl Reyes with Patrol Division. I'm filling in for Commander Starr. And I think we have the map up here. And as you can see, for the month of August, we had roughly 110 reported incidents on the west side. Primarily, again, similar to the last time I was here, most of the incidents are clustered in and around downtown. And then one of the interesting ones is that our assault offenses, there was a significant spike in assault offenses, but I believe a majority of those are accounted to incidents during the Ventura County Fair, where kids and people were fighting at the fair. Drug and narcotic offenses are about the same. There was also a little bit of a spike in vandalisms on the west side of town, and that's primarily consistent with an active investigation from our property crimes unit with they're looking at some taggers, some graffiti artists that have been running around. So other than that, does anybody have any questions about, some of the reported crimes that we have on the west side of town? Oh, so, and then any questions specific for the police department that anybody might have that I could probably help you with?
Yeah, so last month when you were here, there was an attempted kidnapping on Ramona about the same time we were starting.
Yes.
Any suggestions as to what parents and kids can do to avoid things like that, or at least be aware of those situations?
Well, I think at the time that it happened, I don't think it was reported. I think it just whatever date our last meeting was, but actually that kidnapping or attempted abduction is reported. I can't remember specifically what day it was. Let me find it for you.
Mm.
Okay, that attempted kidnapping and abduction actually happened on August 7th. From what I know, I believe it was an isolated incident. I believe the woman or the young woman was walking her dog on Ramona, and the person had come up and tried to pull her into the vehicle, and she fought back. And then they were able to quickly identify the suspect, and then they arrested the suspect the following day. Again, I believe it was an isolated incident. I don't know if the person is still in custody, but as far as tips for individuals walking around, making sure that you're walking in a lighted area, making sure that you're aware of your surroundings. And, if you notice anything suspicious, obviously move away from it. And then, if something like that happens, fight back, scream for help, those kinds of things. And also travel in a group, especially if that's something that you are concerned about. The same thing that I tell my daughters are both young adults, 17, 19 years old. Travel in groups, stay with your friends, let everybody know where you're at. Don't wander off on your own. Me as a 45-year-old man, I don't really worry a whole lot about getting abducted, but then again, I'm a 45-year-old man, and usually I might have some equipment on me or something like that would prevent something like that happening. But I at times I've spoken with females of smaller stature. I have a friend of mine, I said one thing that you have an advantage of, you're a runner. I doubt anybody could keep up with you except for, Olympic marathon runners or even some track stars. So, if you're prepared and you've thought about that and you're not oblivious to it, the likelihood of that happening to you is very, very slim. And these incidents are usually few and far between, thankfully, especially in this area and in the United States.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Similar to the earlier question, which was the police storefront here on the avenue behind Bonds moved. Can you announce where it moved to? And will that move facilitate future? I'll give you an example rather. We would have people show up, monolingual usually, that maybe were intimidated for whatever reason or couldn't get the transportation to go down to the headquarters and file or report. Do you think that in the future that could be an option at City Hall?
Yes, I believe so. If you're at City Hall and you're wanting to report a police incident, I mean, if you came into the receptionist and you let the receptionist know, whoever it was that that you were there to file a police report, they could hopefully direct you and get a person to you. Our storefront moved into the 505 building behind City Hall, and it just was a better fit for the officers that are working in that area. Bigger office space, more equipment in there for them in order to facilitate, a day-to-day operations other than being at the over there behind the Mission Plaza.
Yeah, sorry. I was at the mini park festival this past weekend, and at some point later in the night, all of a sudden we saw like a cop on like a motorcycle coming in, and then the crowd started like swarming around. If you had more information on what that incident was, and also what crowds of that size. I mean, we were in like an enclosed area at the mini park. I don't know if you know more about that event, maybe of what happened, but in general, large crowd size. I guess people should just stay still. Or what would you advise the public to do in that situation?
So this was on the weekend?
On Saturday.
Saturday night. Okay, I was not working Saturday night, and I was unfamiliar with the incident that you're referring to. If it was a motorcycle that came into the crowd.
I just saw like a flashing light. I'm pretty sure it was a motorcycle cop, but I don't know what the incident was. I was like inside, and I think it happened just outside on Main Street, but then the crowd started trying to look in there, like get back and sort of like shutting it. So maybe not necessarily the incident itself, if you have more information, but just in like what crowds can do in that situation. Just
Well, if you're involved or if you're near some police incident, the best thing to do is to be a good witness and just step away and don't interfere with any type of police activity. If they're asking people to step back, it might be a volatile situation. So just listen to the directions of any of the officers that are on scene, and let the officers do what they need to do to safely bring the incident under control.
thank you.
Hello. So yeah, last year I was volunteering at this the Cool Breeze Century downtown Ventura, and I was right there on Main Street, and I saw two minors. They were like probably teens or tweens or something, on bikes heading toward Main Street, and I saw one of the downtown ambassadors, the men in the red shirts. This man, he was trying to like stop these kids and ask them for their personal information about where they what their name is, where they live, things like that. That I'm pretty sure that's unlawful, like for anybody but a cop to like detain somebody or ask minors for personal information. Could you clarify on that? That is not acceptable, correct?
Well, it just depends on the purposes, or I wasn't there, so I don't know specifically what happened. But any person, a citizen, can make a citizen's arrest, or a citizen can make a detention, depending on the severity of the type of crime. Now, I know the downtown ambassadors are like safety ambassadors. I don't understand what the purpose and scope of their job is, other than to maintain and report safety downtown. If they were asking somebody for their names, I would have to understand the purpose of what they were trying to do, whether or not someone had got injured, or whether or not that they were actively helping the police facilitate some type of criminal investigation, so that they could forward the information to us. Depending on the circumstances, like if you're involved in a car accident or something happened, then I would probably ask you for your name and your contact information, and whether or not depending on what happened, you know, I wouldn't necessarily give my information just to somebody just because they were asking for it. But if there was a lawful reason, then yeah, then I would.
So just to follow up on that, you know, as an educator and a mandated reporter, I see this practice of having these downtown ambassadors with the guise of public safety, having like the authority to detain or stop minors or ask minors personal information. That's a very dangerous situation. There could be a pedophile that puts on a red shirt that rides a bike that does the same thing that could get that information as well. And that's the reason why we have laws and checks and balances to only allow police officers to do things like that. So I think that their protocol needs to be very specific and very strict for them to not address minors, for them to call the authorities when need be. That's my. Would you agree with that, or?
Well, usually when I was working with the patrol task force, we had a very good working relationship with the downtown ambassadors. And if there was an incident that required a police involvement, they would usually notify us through communication means like texts or phone calls. Again, I don't know the purposes and the scope of the information that they were asking. I wasn't there. I wasn't involved. I don't remember. I mean, there's so many.
If there's no incident.
And the likelihood of a pedophile being able to mimic the uniform of a downtown ambassador.
It's a red polo shirt. A child could confuse that, you know, easily.
Yes.
It's
And
an embroidery company.
I
$20.
get where you're going, but that's not something that I would worry too much over. If you are concerned about the behaviors of some of the downtown ambassadors, I would encourage you to talk to the downtown Ventura partners and the people that supervise the downtown Ventura partners to discuss that with their boss and their manager, and that if the police needed to be involved afterwards, that's something that we could probably facilitate.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, just a quick reminder, I know it's a little less efficient. You can go and take that one back. So just for the purposes of the people on Zoom and then also for our recording, just wait for the mic to get to you and then also speak clearly. The mic needs to be roughly this close. Just FYI, I know it's like we want to get to the question, but yeah, holding this far, we won't be able to pick up anything. Just gentle reminder on that front. Next up, we have our City of Ventura reports. Who wants to go first? Councilmember.
Thank you, Marco. Good evening. Thank you for coming out in the heat. There's not a lot to report of the last few days. You're going to talk about the River Parkway, right? Okay. This week we have the only city council meeting in September taking place at City Hall. There are three presentations. One is the 75th anniversary of the Housing Authority. One is recognizing Suicide Prevention Month. The other one I'll leave because it may also get mentioned later. But we do have an agenda item, which is in lieu fees for the inclusionary housing projects. And that is something that we all need to understand and think about, and email or come and speak if you're interested. Inclusionary housing requires in both rental housing and for sale housing that the developers include certain units that are considered affordable. An in lieu fee means that that developer can just pay some amount of money and not build those affordable units. And that's going to be a question that we'll have to answer at City Council actually Tuesday evening. So if any of you or anyone online is interested in speaking about that or listening to the meeting to understand what we're doing with that, it's important for you to attend or email us. And I think there's another small item which has to do with, oh, I'm very sorry. Turn it off. Time to dance. It just has to do with appointing a delegate for a council member delegate for a upcoming convention. So, if you have any questions for me about what's going on actually in council, I can answer them. Otherwise, Alejandra will tell you about everything happening in the city outside.
Liz, you may not know anything about this, but I was in contact with the city manager and just asked a question. I understand there's an proposed ordinance coming to council on Tuesday about the street vendors. So you may not have heard anything since the agenda's not out yet.
Well, the agenda's published. It was published yesterday.
Was it?
but
Okay, I haven't looked.
I didn't see that on it, so there may be an amended agenda that I haven't looked at yet.
Okay, that was from the city manager, so maybe it was planned on being on there. It is not. So
Well, yeah, I think
just
it's,
disregard.
yeah, I think it's coming the first meeting in October.
Okay.
Okay. Any more?
What? Yeah. Oh,
Thank
Excuse
you.
me.
Thank you for dancing,
Wait.
Helen. It made that all worthwhile.
hold up.
Okay.
I got a question.
Yes?
Any notable news that's happened since we last met or over the summer? I think you guys have had somewhat of a busy summer, even though you guys have been off. Anything of note that's passed?
Well, after the last meeting, we did have discussions about tenant protections. It was a little confusing because the item was simply for us to have meetings with all of the stakeholders, landlords and tenants, people in the neighborhoods who want to see better situations or outcomes for people who are working at low-wage jobs. It turned into kind of a circus for a little while. There were a lot of public comments directed at telling us they don't want rent control, which is not what it was about at all. There is a lot of work still that needs to be done. It was a council goal established last February. So I think when it comes back, it'll be more clean for people to understand. Does that help?
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. And anyone else?
Oh, Yvonne.
I'm curious, I may have missed this if you announced it at a previous meeting, but the app, Ventura Connects,
Yes.
has that been received well?
Wait,
Or-
wait,
oh,
20 seconds.
Alejandra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's Alejandra's job. Any other questions? Any questions that I can actually answer? No?
We got people on Zoom.
Okay.
I see the chat. There we go. What is that? STVRs. Okay, I was like,
If anybody on Zoom has any questions, please go ahead and type them in the chat now.
or
Or you can unmute yourself.
or Lori, if you want to unmute yourself. Oh yeah, short term. That's all she's giving you.
So short-term vacation rentals also was a council goal a couple of years ago, and we kept it as a goal this year. It's about 85% finished. It also should be coming to council towards the end of October for the first preview hearing. And then a little more work will be done before we do a final vote on that. But it is in the works and it's well underway. Okay,
I think that was it.
I'm
All right.
sorry, none of my phones were muted. Okay, are we finished? Am I finished?
Yeah. Yep. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to introduce one of our public information officers, Alejandra. She does a really great job with the information.
All right. Hi, everybody. So I'm here because I'd like to share with you a couple of the events that are going on in the city in the next couple of weeks. So we have the State of the City address on Thursday, September 19th. This is a presentation hosted by the Ventura Chamber of Commerce, and it will be from 7:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. at the Crown Plaza. And it's a ticketed event, but it will also be streamed live on our YouTube channel. So everybody's welcome to tune in. This presentation will provide an overview of the city's budget, council adopted initiatives, and more updates. So stay tuned. And Ventura Connects, what you were talking about. This is a new app that the city launched, and it's an easy way for residents to report potholes, graffiti, debris, submit service requests anonymously or create an account. You can download the app on your phone. You can also go online on our website and make any reports. If you're dealing with emergencies like water main breaks or crime in progress, please still report these to 911. But if you have something else that's not an emergency, we have the 805-654-788 number for non-emergencies that you can still use. To answer your question, how it's worked, there's a lot of requests coming in specifically about potholes, which is great. And we've been able to manage those lists. Of course, there's a lot to do with potholes around the city, but it's worked really well. From the feedback we've received so far, folks are happy to have a one-on-one connection with people that are answering their requests, and these are being done thankfully in a timely manner so far. So next up, we have the Rancho San Miguel Days on Sunday, September 8th. This is a free event, and you can experience music, dancing, storytelling, games, and hands-on activities for all ages, and everybody's welcome. We have Ventura Council for Seniors. The Ventura Council for Seniors was formerly known as the Ventura Council on Aging. This was formed back in 1975. And we would like to invite folks for a free senior speaker series at the Ventura Avenue Adult Center. You can find out more information here, get folks plugged in. And then one special event that's happening on the 13th of September, we have the Ventura River Trail ribbon cutting. Everybody's welcome to attend. This will start at 4 p.m. and we'll be celebrating the completion of the Ventura River Trail improvement project. So I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has any. If not,
Hold on. Oh, there.
Sorry, on the river trail ribbon cutting, where is that going to happen?
where is it going to be? This is, I actually have all the information on my phone, but it will be, I can actually grab that information right now. 'Cause I have my phone right here. Live.
I think the email was like 800 feet above Kahala at the
Yes,
Sycamore
Kahala,
Village.
yes.
If you know where Sycamore Village is, it's like 800 feet above that on that bike trail. You just walk up a bit.
Yeah.
No, it's like further up past Stanley. So Sycamore Village, where like Lovewell Coffee is. If you go in there all the way to the back, follow the bike trail, bike/walk trail all the way up till you hit like the mural at the end of the city limits. They says 800 feet, I think, on
Yes,
the email.
I have the map up here. You can park on Kahala. There's plenty of parking on Kahala. Yeah. Thank you. You can go on our website on Ventura River Trail. You can just type on our website, Ventura River Trail, and you'll see everything about that on there.
September 8th. I didn't hear the location. You may have said it and I didn't catch it.
Yeah, this will be at Olivas Adobe.
And for Ventura Connect, it's okay if you don't know. I'll get Public Works in here next month. Hopefully, is it first come, first serve? You'd say when people submit stuff, or
That's a great question. I'm not sure about that type of workflow and how they decide what comes first. But that is a great question for Public Works, and I'm happy to get an answer from them and bring it next time or
Okay.
send it to you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Either way, overwhelm them, West Side. Let's get all the potholes fixed. So go on your phones now. This is your PSA announcement. All right.
All
I
right.
think that's it, right? Thank you so
That's
much.
it. Yeah. Thank you.
Helen, can you pull up our flyer really quick? I'm just gonna add. I should. Oh yeah, let's give her a round of applause. All that city news. Yep. Thank you. So last month we announced our event, basically this year's edition of West Side Fiesta, which is happening over here up the street at the 600-foot mural. So we're celebrating the Pura Avenida mural, which was made about 2.5 years ago, March 2022, I believe. And so we're going to be, they're going to be cleaning it up on Friday, touching it up. And then on Saturday, we're basically going to be doing a block party celebration as part of Art Walk. So we're going to be one of the different destinations during Art Walk that Saturday. Art Walk's a 2-day event, Saturday and Sunday, but we're just going to be on Saturday from 12 to 6 at Wall Street. We'll have food, art, a kids zone, car and motorcycle show. And it'll also be celebrated as part of Avenue Taco Week. So celebrating all the different restaurants we have on the Avenue. So yeah, it'll be a nice block party. We'll have music by DJ Charlie and Familia Morasa. So you can scan that code for more information, which we're updating our website as we speak. But these flyers we posted all around town. If you have locations you want to put it at, we have a few on the table in the back there. But yeah, help spread the word. It's going to be a nice block party in a couple weeks on September 21st. And then just also another announcement, Bell Arts First Friday, this Friday. So come check out all the different art that the artists have here. Open up their studios, come buy some art, support your local artists. I think that's all I have for events off the top of my head. Next we have the Treasurer's Report, I believe. I should know this order. Yes, Treasurer's Report, Kate.
Thank you. Thanks for coming out. Well, might not be very many here, but you were all here for a good reason. And we appreciate you being here. In our bank account right now, we're holding $420.66. So if you would like to donate, it would be quite appreciative. But here we have a good spreadsheet up here. It tells you where everything goes when we had it. God bless you guys.
Thank you, Kay. Next up, we have our Revite report.
Thank you. So we had a lively meeting and we're discussing some of the different possibilities as far as actions that the Revite committee could take. And we're looking at some of the legislation that we might be able to foster or encourage in the city. So opening up some of the building codes and things like that came up. Let's see, what's your suggestion, Helen? Oh, quite, yeah.
Well, I think, sorry, a little too close there. I think we are making some good headway as well for greening the avenue, and coordinating with our local governments here to like embed kind of like that community character in the decisions that are made, if that helps.
Yeah, that helps, yeah. And so one of the aspects of us being a DAC, a disadvantaged community on the west side of Ventura Avenue, is that we get some special considerations. And so one of those considerations could be no drive-through food service. And so, you know, that's one of the things that we can encourage our city council to put into place. And thank you, Councilmember Campos. They're working on it, yeah. And so we have a number of things, projects, you know, kind of in the works, and anybody who wants to be involved and take charge of one of these projects, you know, then there's a wonderful opportunity to become engaged. And and serve your community. So we're currently exploring the strip between the two De Anza drives heading into De Anza School, AKA Data, and talking to opening up communications with the school board to see if they are willing to do a design charrette and bring people together to envision what do we want in our community. More gardens, more trees, more playground equipment, community gardens, what makes sense. So bring your ideas. We're the last Wednesday of the month, same hours, 6:30 to 8. So come on down, express yourself. We'll see how we can make our community work for everybody. Thank you. Oh, and coming up next week, the Heirloom Expo. I have some flyers and some brochures on it. Fun time, celebration of organic food, heirloom seeds, and pure food. So there'll be something for everybody, all kinds of gardening information, a whole series of talks on access to food and how to grow food, how to compost, how to recycle food, all those sorts of things. So check it out. If you have a place, you can put some posters. There's some posters there to take, especially like to see those in store windows, especially along Main Street. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. I knew I forgot an event, obviously the one happening next week, but yeah, I attended that last year. It was a really neat event, a lot of great ideas there. Revite is in full force. Definitely want people at those meetings, more of workshop meetings, trying to figure out what we want to do. That center at De Anza is definitely, if we can get some funding for that, would be a great idea. So we're in talks with VUSD, but definitely really early stages and stuff like that. Last standing report, which I didn't have on the agenda, we have some news on GPAC.
We'll make this real quick. GPAC, General Plan Advisory Committee, if you don't know, that's the general plan is what we'll use to guide the development of the city over the next 25 years. We haven't met for a couple months, but we're finally going to meet on September 11th. We will be going over the new land use map survey, which was supposed to be out, but I haven't seen it yet. So I can't fill you in. Keep an eye out for it. The city community development department will be making the rounds at all our community council meetings to discuss it, explain it, and enlighten you. And if you have any questions, you can ask them to get filled in. That's it. Thanks. Any questions? No.
Yeah, so definitely want to attend next month because we'll be having them do a presentation on that next month. Old business, we just have our usual hotlines such as Pothole Hotlines, although now we have Ventura Connect, so maybe we don't even need to use those hotlines anymore. But all of those hotlines, other hotlines like trash pickup and stuff like that are on our website. Let's get right into our presentations, starting with the Ojai Valley Land Conservancy and what they're doing up the avenue a bit. So
thank you, Marco. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm Lynette Cervantes, Cervantes Conservation Consulting, and I work for Brendan's organization, Ojai Valley Land Conservancy. I'm their land use planner and project manager for the project. And I would like to start with, actually, Ron, you were at this event, but I would like to start with a brief introduction by Brendan to explain really what Ojai Valley Land Conservancy does and how they're involved with this project. Oh, you have
Does
your
this
own.
one work? Yes. Hello all. My name is Brendan Taylor. I'm the Director of Field Programs for Ojai Valley Land Conservancy. We're a land trust up in Ojai Valley. Some of you might be familiar with Ventura Land Trust. They're our sister organization down here. We protect land, open space, sometimes for public access, sometimes just for environmental benefits. And Ventura Land Trust actually came to us a few years ago about what we call the Parkway Preserve, which is what we're going to go over today. Asked us if we could take on ownership and management of that. because they were dealing with Mariano Rancho Preserve. You might have heard about that recent acquisition. So we were happy to come down and take ownership of this property, which is up the avenue next to Patagonia's Brooks campus, next to the wastewater treatment plant, just off the bike path, or the bike path goes right through it. So our mission is to protect the natural places of Ojai Valley, but also off the avenue as well. And we will do that through stewardship, so opening the preserves up to the public for their use, through restoration, trying to restore natural habitats with native plants, and in this case, hopefully with some ecosystem service benefits, and particular flood control, which is what we're going to talk about today.
Thank you, Brendan. And thank you, Marco, for having us. Marco and Kendra actually met with us a couple weeks ago, Brendan and I, and that's how we ended up coming to your meeting tonight. Thank you to the Zoom audience and anyone who also will watch this on YouTube. We're open to interactions and suggestions, beyond tonight's meeting. So the purpose of us coming tonight is to engage with your organization. We've started our community engagement program on June 8th. Rocio, many of you know, from Merito Foundation, led those meetings. They were entirely held in Spanish on June 8th on the site. But first I would like to orient you to make sure everyone knows where we are. And you can see the aerial photo shows the river, the bike path. Thank you. Oops. What happened? Back to that one. Yeah, sorry. Thank you. So you can see the Brooks campus is this building in the foreground. The site stretches beyond where you see the parking area and backs up to the city water and sanitation district property. You can't really see on the right, but that's North Ventura Avenue. So that just gets everyone oriented. And then Cañada Road just comes straight into this property. We're just west of 33. So that's to orient everyone. We can go to the next slide. Thank you. So this was the agenda for the day. We had a very nice turnout. We had lots of younger generation, which was really nice to see. And after the presentations, Rocio and her group led, I'd say about 40 people on a nature walk. And we went down actually to the river, and I really enjoyed seeing the younger generation with their little binoculars and getting excited about seeing some ducks on the water. And so we've definitely accomplished what we would like to start with, which is letting the community know that we're out there. We're planning this project. We have a grant from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. And the grant stage that we're in is the planning stage, which includes community engagement and also talking with the county. This property is in the county, so we'll be working with them on getting our grading permits, et cetera. And you mentioned earlier, you mentioned about the general plan. So we did meet with the city a couple of months ago, and they decided in response to our request to designate this as open space. It was previously industrial. So that's very positive. Anybody have any questions about June 8th, the program? Okay, we'll move on to the next slide. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Oh, wait. So the kids are basically from the community. So the Rocio with Merito Foundation was able to publicize the event to not just the Norway community, which is right across the highway, but throughout the west side. So hopefully, she was able to reach many people. We had actually a radio ad as well, trying to get people to come to the event. And we will be doing a second follow-up event. Rocio is working with Maribel on that, possibly in November. So we will be, again, inviting the entire community. Did you have something, Ron? Wait, microphone.
So this is in the Ventura sphere of influence, but outside city limits. And so you're talking with the city then about their designation of the property?
So we met with them a few months ago, and since they're in the process of the general plan update now, in fact, we've worked very closely with Liz, and I was going to get to that as well. So they had it zoned, for designation for industrial. And after meeting with them, one of the key issues with regards to the land use designation is this property was acquired through grants from California Natural Resources Agency, and that actually is now a deed restriction on the property that it must be used for habitat restoration, community access, and also flood mitigation. So they were very gracious to go ahead and show it as open space. The county still shows industrial. We're working with them on, whether that's going to change or not. But the reality is, and we'll get to sort of the flooding impacts, that with the situation on the site, there probably won't be a lot of requests for building permits. So it's going to be mostly landscaping and grading. So I think that'll work out fine. Yes.
Just to clarify, the property is currently in a sphere of influence being annexed? Or
No.
is it, oh, okay,
Yeah, it's in the sphere of influence. It's in the county, no plans for annexation. So we are working with the county Ventura. They're our official
Okay, so
permitting
they're the lead.
agency. But we met with the city mostly so out of courtesy to,
yeah.
and it makes sense for the city and the county's general plan to ideally be aligned. So at least the city's aligned with our use. We're getting there.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
You're so welcome. So this is the site plan from the June 8th meeting. We had people experience, different areas of the site, had them park on this area that's actually has a little bit of asphalt, sort of looks like a parking lot, and walk over to the site, to the river. And the hike down to the river was at the southern part of the property. Next slide, please. So our most recent community meeting was held a couple of weeks ago on a Thursday evening at Leashless Brewing. Also very well attended. We publish these events and hope that people show up, and we had a pretty good audience at that event as well. And the same sort of idea where we laid out site plans and we gave people stickers and notes, and we want to hear from people what kinds of activities you'd like to see there, what kind of programs you'd like to see there. So we got a lot of very good information. We also have a survey which we can share, and anyone who would like to take that survey would be very helpful. There's about 8 questions and it can be done online. I think there's the QR code on the end of this. Next slide, please. This was our agenda for that event. We had Supervisor Levere open, and Councilwoman Campos was a very important part of it because she gave a summary of the June 8th meeting. So it was really nice to have you there. Thank you so much. Next slide, please. So this is our team. We put together SALT LA, the landscape architect, worked with OVLC on the Seek the Creek program, which some of you may have been aware of. They're very, very good designers. They've worked a lot with Trust for Public Land, who also shows up on this slide. They were the original purchasers of the property, and then it went, instead of to Ventura Land Trust, as Brendan mentioned, to OVLC from them. So they're a partner with us, and they're actually working hand in hand with regards to the grant funding. So we're very happy to have that. And also PAX Environmental, they'll be doing the environmental analysis and reporting. Next slide, please. So we used this, we found this 1927 photo from the UC Santa Barbara archives. And it's very interesting because not only it shows that this property was already in agricultural use, around the orange circle, you can see the property, but it also shows that the Cañada Creek took a very sharp turn, the 90-degree turn, right before. Now it doesn't show the Highway 33, of course, but you know where that is. And we found that very interesting because what happens, and you'll see in one of the later slides, that the flood waters from Cañada Creek, they basically spill over onto Cañada Road and onto this site. So this was very helpful. The other important point about the 1927 photo is the breadth of the riparian corridor with regards to the Ventura River. And, we'd like to restore as much of that as we can. Next slide, please. So this is a good example. I'm going to let Brendan address this slide.
All right. So This is an example from our Ojai Meadows Preserve. If anyone knows where Nordhoff High School is in Ojai, this is right next to Nordhoff High School. On the left, well, all of these pictures are from Ojai Meadows Preserve. On the left is what the preserve looked like when we first took ownership of it about 20 years ago now, 24 years ago now. It was a vacant lot, not too dissimilar from what the Parkway Preserve is right now. It was scheduled to be developed into a shopping center or mall or something, but folks in Ojai got together and protected it. Ojai Valley Land Conservancy went on to own it. And part of the reason it needed to be protected from development is there were serious flood concerns on Highway 33, right outside of Nordhoff High School, which is next door. High school, an important emergency evacuation center. So we wanted to be able to control the flooding on Highway 33 there, protect the community, but also use that flooding for the benefit of the environment. So we were able to recontour the land, grade the land, get rid of all the invasive vegetation that was there, make wetlands. And so that's kind of what you see on the right-hand side. All that green, lush vegetation is what it looks like today. There's a wetland there that supports all kinds of wildlife and vegetation. And there's also trails there. So it's one of our most heavily used preserves in Ojai. And most importantly, it is protecting the surrounding community from flooding. So this is a great, not exactly what we would do here at Parkway, but this is a great example of kind of what we're shooting for down here in Parkway as well.
Thank you, Brendan. And then for those of you who have been to the site, or if you do visit the site, it's pretty devoid of natural plants. So, one of the main reasons that we're looking at planting native species is part of it is to repopulate the area so that we will draw in types of species that will thrive there if we change the habitat. And I think we have a slide to present that as well. So this slide is bringing to light that the vision for the Ventura River corridor has been there since about 2010 in terms of this report that was put together by the Trust for Public Land and also in concert with the Cal Poly Pomona Landscape Architecture. You'll see Foster Park up in the upper left of that far right image, and then all the way to the Pacific Ocean. The idea is access to the river is very important to this community, and there's little access at this point. So this is an important aspect of this particular project, is to provide access to the community and the programming that can come with that. And we have pictures of Once Upon a Watershed working with school children. So this is our habitat slide. Again, just trying to encourage native species to be established on the site, similar to what Brendan presented in the Ojai Meadows Preserve. And we also would like to have programming and signage and interaction with the cultural heritage of, we are working with representatives of the Chumash Nation and also with, the cultural heritage of all the different communities that have had experiences on this property. So next slide. So this shows the watershed, Ventura River watershed. Maybe the best thing to do is to just point up here, but this is an enlarged image. This is Cañada Larga Creek here, and the property is right about here. And the purpose of having this slide in is to provide information about how much water is coming down through Cañada Larga watershed and a lot of it ends up on this site. So we do have an animated image, which hopefully, Marco, you could start that for me when it gets, I think it's in the next slide, or no, 2 slides from now. So this is, okay, so good. This slide shows that the blue is actually in the 100-year flood zone. This is Federal Emergency Management Agency mapping. They show the base flood elevation. So they basically, if you were going to build any kind of habitable structure, you would have to be at least a foot above that elevation. There won't be any habitable structures. There won't be any structures at all, likely. But this property, as you can see, does have a serious flooding impact. And those photographs on the right show different events that have happened over the years. And this next slide, which is an animated slide, will illustrate what the FEMA 10-year flood, 50-year flood, and 100-year flood would look like in terms of inundation of the site. So flood control is a very important aspect. It's really kind of driving the planning for this property. Okay, so there should be an arrow to start that video.
As they try to load this video, just to give folks some context, the flood event we had in January 23, so last year, that's what's considered a 10-year event. And for those of you who were around and remember the flood event from 2005, that is considered a 50-year flood event, to kind of give it, you know, use these terms, 10-year, 50-year, 100-year, to give you an idea of what that actually means. January 23 in the Ventura River was a 10-year event, and the 2005 flood, which came out of Cañada Larga, is what's called a 50-year event. And just for anybody who's curious, the last time the Ventura region had a 100-year event was the 1860s. 1860s.
Margot, is that a PDF of the presentation or is it in PowerPoint?
We used your link and now we're downloading the PowerPoint. Maybe that'll
Okay.
make a difference.
It's okay, actually, we can move on. It's if it takes too much time. If we go back to that
Okay.
FEMA slide, that's
Yeah.
fine. We can explain it from there. So just go one slide back just for a moment. So this shows the 100-year, as I mentioned. And what was really surprising as we have our civil engineering going through the modeling for the flooding was that there wasn't that much of a difference between the 50 and 100-year. So if you go to the next slide, what you see on the screen is essentially the 10-year. And unfortunately, we can't play this for you, but it's an animated slide that will show, and there's labeling that will come up when you get to the 10-year event, and then when you get to the 50-year event. So this is roughly the 10-year event. And so the water is spilling out from the intersection of the creek and Cañada Larga Road. There are a couple of box culverts there that get clogged in a high storm event, and that water sheet flows down Cañada Larga Road and underneath the 33, and then comes down North Ventura Avenue first and ends up flooding this property, which is just south of us, which is the Patagonia Works property. What we found with the modeling is as you go towards the 50-year, very quickly, this whole site fills with water. And then the 100-year, you go back over to the north of the Cañada Larga Road extension. So that is why we have the flood mitigation issue as sort of our driver. So there's really three main goals for the property: mitigating the flood risks to the extent that we can, and we're working on that, providing restoration of the habitat, and community access. So those are the three main goals. Does anyone have any questions about the flooding? Okay, so we'll keep going. We just have a couple more slides. In fact, I think this might be our last slide. So this is from the June 8th meeting. You'll see that Rosia was giving a presentation. In the lower left, we have the site plans where people were making notes on them, just some images of the site, the little girls looking at the ducks. So what we'd like to do is between now and hopefully in November, have a second meeting, invite the entire community, but have some concept maps to share, some ideas about what uses will go where. But again, going back to the issue with the flooding, we're envisioning contouring the property, creating little outdoor classrooms, like a little bowl that we would have nicely planted, but not having a lot of structures, simply because in a high flood event, they'll just go washed away. So we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. If anyone has any questions, Marco can put you in touch with us. We're very happy to have input from anyone who's interested. Yes.
You mentioned access.
Yes.
And obviously down here, we've got a freeway and a levee that block a lot of the access. Do you know of any plans for access to it, like VLT or Ojai, working on somehow getting access from this section of the west side to the river.
Well, in addition to this property?
Yeah, sorry, in addition to this property,
Okay.
I don't know if the access from that part of the property and down or anywhere.
I don't know of any specific plans. I do know that Trust for Public Land, who Lynette mentioned, they're the ones who actually bought the property and then turned it over to us. They're working on other properties up and down the river to try to increase access points for the public. Nothing is done yet. No deals are done yet. And then one thing I should add on this project, so this is the property here. There is a bus stop already right outside of the preserve. You get off the bus now, you can't go onto the property, it's just chain link fence, but theoretically, very likely possibility is you get off and you can go on to the preserve to get out to the bike path and hopefully the river beyond.
And then really quickly, if we could go back to the first slide. I wanted to point out that there is the property north of the extension of Cañada Larga Road is currently being used as a storage facility. You can see, I pointed that out earlier, but you can see the trucks parked there. So that's a temporary use, and that will eventually be part of the preserve. But in terms of keeping that use for Ojai Valley Land Conservancy, it could be a number of years before that's turned over. So we have to be, cognizant of the truck traffic and make sure that the uses are respected between the two parts of the property. And that will eventually be taken up by OVLC. All right, well, thank you so much. Oh, I did want to add, so when we met with Kendra and Marco, we did talk a bit about bike access, right? And about programs that involve people, having little trips for the community to come out via bike, because you can access the property right off the bike trail. It's on the bike trail. So is there anything else we talked about? Oh, involving the STEM, the Idea Center programming. So it was very helpful to me with them.
So many different stakeholders. I think that's the great thing about all the outreach that you're doing. And honestly, one thing that I've learned so far, aside from just like that there's going to be more access, just the awareness of that access. I mean, I've lived here my whole life. I didn't even know you could go and take a dip in that river at all. So I look forward to that being at least one access point. And yeah, actually we didn't.
Oh,
on this
okay.
PowerPoint,
We've
we
got the
did this,
PowerPoints. You
have
get to see the
player so we can get this
Thank you.
going if
Thank
anyone
you.
has any other questions. But yeah, we'll share this video feed to our socials so people can just see this segment of presentation and the survey links. Any other material you want us to share, we can just go ahead and pass that along.
That would be great. That would be great. So there's the 10-year event. Site starts to fill up. 50-year. And that's 100-year. All right. Thank you for getting that video running. Appreciate it. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Marco.
Let's give him a round of applause. Now I have all the mics up here. Yeah, I mean, there's a number of reasons to be excited about that project, and obviously more to come as it progresses long term, but they're definitely accessible. So you want to talk to them after, be sure I can put you in touch with them. But let's move on to our second presentation of the night, Bike for a Cause. I'll let Carlos go ahead and introduce himself.
Hello, everybody. How's it going? Awesome. Thank you for your presentation. That was really awesome. It was great to learn about Ojai Valley Conservancy. I guess let me get in frame here. Whoa, where am I at? Oh, okay. Never mind. That's cool. You don't need to look at me. Okay. Hello. That's better. Sorry about that. Hi. This is actually my first presentation, so bear with. Thank you for being here. I've been working on this my nonprofit for about 2 years since COVID, but I started in 2012. So we're gonna go over. I was like, okay, how do I communicate what I need to communicate? Well, we'll just go over the story of Bike for a Cause. How we got started in 2012. So in 2012, okay, so I'm actually wearing Rock for a Cause t-shirt, right? So I started as a musician making events on Facebook inviting people to check out my shows or listen to my songs or what have you. From there, I got like a 3-hour gig, and I don't have 3 hours of materials, so I needed to invite more people in. So I started doing showcases, Ventura Talent Showcase it was called, on Facebook, right, with the logo and everything, right, at a graphic design neighbor. Anyhow, from there, when I had this idea, let's make it for charity, right? And make it bigger and bring more people in, and we could raise a bunch of money, and that would be good, for the community and stuff. It'll be good for us, make us feel good and stuff, and also that enabled us to bring on Brooks volunteers to create music videos for us. So I created Rock for a Cause. We're on YouTube, really nice music videos. Anyways, we did that. The concept was we did a different charity concert every month. Another really important part of that is that I grew up here on the avenue, in poverty, with a single parent household, and a lot of my friends were also in deep poverty with parents that were on drugs or on the riverbed or living in an RV or what have you. I grew up hanging out with the kids that committed the most crimes, you could say, definitely by far. I was out on the street every day. I realized that, there's not many opportunities for impoverished youth to self-identify with culture. That many, well, okay, don't get me wrong. There's plenty of culture, but there's like an Indian restaurant, let's say, never been to it in my life until I was an adult, as a property manager, whatever. All these events, these awesome rock and roll concerts and country music and cool shows to check out. There's no access to that for impoverished youth. So it's like, what do we have access to? We have, what culture do we have access to without any money? There's definitely our surrounding area. We do have gangs, and we do have drug addiction in our community at some points. So I've seen a lot of my friends go towards those routes, and a lot of them have died or are in prison or what have you, not doing so well, right? So I realized, okay, there's a disparity gap of access to culture, of access to self-identity of the American, being an American citizen, right? Like a part of the whole America is to go to an Indian restaurant, to go to a concert, to do this. Well, there's like the outliers, anyhow. So I made my concerts, my charity concerts, $3 minimum donation. Very important part there. That's the whole point why I said that. $3 minimum donation. I wanted to change it because I couldn't afford $10, $20, and I loved rock and roll. I loved Jimi Hendrix as a kid, but I couldn't have access to that culture. So when I created my concerts, when there was another charity concert, it's like $50 a ticket. You know what I mean? So I wanted to give access to other types of culture, American culture to lower income community. So that's Rock for a Cause. That's the idea of Rock for a Cause. I did that. The city banned fixed gear bikes is a type of bike because as a teenage woman, she got hurt really bad. There's a way there's a technical way to stop or to brake on this bike. So the city's response was to ban this bike. Meanwhile, in 2012, we didn't have any bicycle infrastructure. We did have a little bit from like the 50s. You can go on the next slide right there. Please, thank you. We did have really outdated bicycle infrastructure, faded. In fact, right outside the crosswalk on the pier, it was all faded crosswalk. There's no lighting. There's no, there's right after a big hill, an outer towner could come up and hit one of my homeless friends crossing the street in the middle of the night or something like that. So not only that, but, on the avenue, people were getting hit left and right, elderly women, children, people dying. And we didn't have any lights out here. The lighting was terrible. The crosswalks were terrible. Anyways, I'm like, what's going on? And we're banning bikes now. We don't even have a sign to save our lives, to watch out for bicyclists. What's going on here? So I used my, Yeah, my skill that I've developed, event coordinating, to create we're gonna do a fundraiser for the city government, right? Raise funds to improve bike lanes and pedestrian safety, right? So I did a press release, sent it to every email in VC Star. I created a bunch of flyers. I put them in every store downtown. I put them in every kiosk on Ventura College. I even posted them in City Hall, in their restroom stalls, and in the elevators, right? And it was a fundraiser for the government, local government, to put in better bike lanes and street signs, right? So I was a little bit spicier back then. I was 20 years old, 20s. I was kind of trolling a little bit, not gonna lie. But anyway, so I got the check. So we did the Rock for Cause, we did the Bike for Cause. It was the first Bike for Cause. You can look it up, VC Star Bike for Cause. It's pretty awesome. I like it. I'm pretty happy with it. Anyways, so we did that. I went to City Hall, met a city worker there. He's a super cool guy, huge beard, a bunch of esoteric tattoos, and I was into esoteric mysticism too. So I was like, okay, my type of people, what's up? So he's like, oh, we're the government. We don't take donations. You can get a bench, you can get a plaque, something like that. I'm like, well, the people gave me these funds for the specific purpose of bike lanes, pedestrian safety, so I can't do that. I'm bound to give the money for this purpose, right? And he's like, oh, well, yeah, like, I don't know what to tell you. So I'm like, all right, well, objectively speaking, nothing personal, but I'm gonna have to leave this check right here on the counter. And if it's not cashed by next week, what I'm gonna have to do is purchase a street sign on the internet. This was like a brand new concept in 2012, right? I'm gonna purchase a street sign on the internet, and then I'm gonna do another huge Facebook event, with thousands of people, and put flyers all over town, invite the media, because we're gonna the whole event is we're gonna put a street sign on the front steps of City Hall, and as a gift to the government to help out, because we're just trying to help. You know what I mean? But really, it's not. It's not rage against. It's not rage against the government. I love the government. I love our local government, especially. Um, really, because really, who controls that? It's the voters. It's the voters that vote for infrastructure budget, right? So really, it's not attack. I'm not like clowning on the government. I'm kind of clowning on us as our citizens. Like, hey guys, like, here's this poor kid, yeah, or this kid in poverty, from poverty, like saying, hey, where's our signs at? Here's my 50 cents. Could you give us a sign? You know what I mean? Anyways, so I'm going off too much into that. But anyway, so I talked to that guy. He's like, yeah, we can't do. Oh, so he's like, all right, hold on, because I was like playing hardball, about this whole street sign thing. And he's like, all right, hold on a second. So he talked to the supervisor in the back for a good minute, right? And I was checking out some brochures and stuff. Comes out, he's like, all right, hold on, let me introduce somebody. So he takes me to the third story of City Hall, right? And they're having a nonprofit they have a nonprofit incubator there, right? And that's where he introduces me to a climate-focused nonprofit called VC Cool, right? And so that's where I met the executive director, super awesome gal. Her name is Rachel Morris, right? So I told her what I did. She loved it, of course. It's great. And she's like, all right, well, there's this bike hub, there's this, they do pop-up shops where there's a bunch of ragtag punk rock dudes like myself, and they just do pop-ups at cafes, and they put flyers everywhere. They help people fix their bikes for donation based on donation. Yeah, and I'm like, that's super, and like, they could use some tools. Can we use it for that? I'm like, sorry, I think that's super awesome. Maybe another day I can fundraise for them, but for this check has to go towards this purpose, right? At that point, she's like, all right, well, we're talking about merging with them more, and we'll do some lobbying at City Hall for this cause of bike lanes and pedestrian safety, yada, yada. And I'm like, all right, well, in that case, yes, I can give you this check for that. That fulfills the requirements. And then a month later, they did the brick and mortar, and merged with Bike Hub to create Bike Ventura, right? And that was the manager was Toby. He's my buddy. He started the Bike Hub, and then he eventually became the executive director of Bike Ventura. And so I figured, I was like, I'm not going to read this to you guys. You guys can read that if you guys get bored of my story or what have you. So yeah, we established in 2012, bike lanes, we need that. so I did the event funds. We created bike. So essentially, we created Bike Ventura. You know, so we lit the torch of bicycle safety and pedestrian safety, and I gave the torch to Rachel Morris because and then from there she ran with it. She did all these awesome events. She gathered all these organizations. She really rallied up the community to pay attention to our infrastructure. And she did. It was just our city is just a shining example of perfect, beautiful infrastructure. Like, you know, of course there's always improvements, but you know, our green lanes love that. Super stoked on and the crosswalk in front of the pier, excellent, right? So anyhow, so yeah, there's that. And so that was in 2012. And so if we can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. All right. So yeah. So then what? So after that, I just kind of forgot about it, to be honest. Like I didn't even put one and one together that like I founded or co-founded Bike Ventura or anything like that. I was just like, okay, that's something I did, you know, just some event that I did on Facebook one day, right? And then so COVID happened, right? All kinds of crazy stuff is happening in the world. I see the world on fire in all these different directions, and I'm like, hold on a second, my career was headed towards property management, which I can make a good, good, living with that, whatever, with my son. But I was like, you know what? Like the community needs me. You know, it's like I have the capability, I have the skills, I have the know-how to help with this mess that we're all in, right? And I'm like, all right, so I'm gonna do it. So my buddy worked at Bike Ventura, and we were hiking. You know, it was before, it was everything was open, and he was, I told him I worked as a paraeducator for the county, for the school district, for 7 years. And so he's like, all right, well, we're doing this helmet safety thing with the school district, and we could use your help for that. So I started with them in 2022, and I did that for 2 years, and I trained the new lead, and but a part of my presentation was the benefits of bicycling, right? I'm teaching all these sixth graders why they should bike. I really emphasize on friends, family, trying to build that social aspect that we're missing because of the digital era. Anyways, so I'm like, all right, oh yeah. So one of the benefits of bicycling was for sport, right? And in the only image you can find for bike sports, pretty much, is just a bunch of grown older men. They're typical. As an event coordinator, I have the power of observation. I could see these sporting events are not marketed toward lower income, people of color, kids in the community, right? They're just not. There's little, but yeah, it's like why do we live in a world where there's no bike competition for kids? There's no great bike race. Well, we can't do a race because liability that encourages dangerous maneuvering, right? So then I had the golden ticket, or I had the solution to that. Okay, we have to work within the parameters. So I go, okay, well, instead of it being a race for speed, we'll do a distance, right? So between 2 to 4 hours, how many miles can you ride? That's the ticket there. And then that way, sprinting is actually counterproductive if you want to really increase your mileage. So our pilot year was last year. I got connected with the chamber, and also a member of the Kiwanis International, and we talked to Deanza principal, and he got us in contact with the director of expanded learning, right? It's an after school program. It's $5 billion grant across the state for the next, I think 2 years left. But anyhow, so and that with that grant, they could do business with any third-party entity as well. So that's pretty cool. That sounds like a good opportunity to provide really awesome services to our youth, right? Like that, bridging that disparity gap of culture that I was mentioning earlier, right? So for instance, that's the whole idea of self-identity, right? A huge. So anyways, yeah, so I don't need to say it all in one slide. I can spread it out, I guess. All right. So our pilot year last year, we had 114 students, ride 3,330.5 miles, which is 1.15 times across the United States, right? So next time I'm going to tell them to go twice across America. Hey, there you go. And then, when we get more districts, more schools, more staff, multiple schools simultaneously, things like that. We're going to go to the moon. We're going to go to Mars. We're going to go to all kinds of places. In fact, we're going to bring in some geography and heritage as well. I'm going to challenge the kids to bike to their country's heritage, right? So that's kind of cool, right? There's all kinds of great opportunities here. Anyways, next slide, please, if you would. Oh, chip, chip. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, so yes, so this is, yeah, I almost spilled the beans on the last slide, but this is the slide to talk about it. So, all right, so check it out. It addresses childhood obesity and mental health crisis, right? So the childhood obesity and it's exacerbated by technological isolation. I coined that, or I don't know if it's people are talking about it, but we need to talk about it because it's some serious business, guys. If it's bad for us adults, imagine how bad it is as a child growing up into that world, just nothing but screen, right? So I have a computer science background and stuff too. So like, these phones, they give you infinite dopamines, right? Dopamines, happy, reward, feel good chemical, infinite dopamines, right? So therefore, before we had those infinite dopamines right in our pocket, how did we get our dopamines? By socializing, by smiling at each other, by talking, by joking, by playing, by going outside, by adventuring, by checking out the wilderness, things like that. Yeah, now we don't have to do that anymore. So basically it's just this. And without, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's what I'm realizing. And especially up with the COVID-19 quarantine, it just magnified that dependence of that culture, that societal culture that we're creating for our children, right? So we need it's a systemic issue. It's a systemic problem that we now we have a system where we have infinite dopamines in our head. So we need to create a systemic solution, right? So that's where this is. So also green transportation. That was a part of my spiel with Rachel Morris. I'm like, hey, environmental nonprofit, yeah, it's cool, that we're informing businesses on better practices and things like that. But like, let's do something super tangible. Like we want to do green transportation. Like we want us to ride our bikes, but it's not safe to ride our bikes. How about we do like, something very tangible and work on bike infrastructure and make it that safe and stuff. So we can do that. So yeah, that's another thing. A part of this program, they have like your ride your bike to school day at a lot of all the school districts, and I just see that as it's a waste of time and money and effort and all that, because what happens? Maybe 12 students show up with their families, and then what happens after that? Maybe one kid continues to ride to school. So all that money and time and marketing and all that went to one kid riding their bike to school consistently. It's a farce. You know what I mean? Well, with this program, we're, having these kids organically, put in their miles. They're bringing their own bikes to school, and I'm not even telling them. I saw it happen last year. In fact, one of the highest mileage, the first kid that did the most mileage was a heavyset kid. He a child who was heavyset as well. And I had him stand up and everybody clapped for him and everything. And he bowed, and he comes to school the next day with a brand new bike, right? Or the next time I saw him with a brand new bike, I figured his parents got him that. Very proud, right? So yes, green transportation. I don't even need to tell them to bring their bikes to school. They just do it naturally. Why? Because they're building up mitochondria, they're building up their muscles, so it's not a problem to ride their bike to school if they're putting in hundreds of miles every week after school. You know what I mean? So anyways, yeah, so creating solutions here. So accessible and inclusive sport. This is a big deal, right? So as I was mentioning earlier, team sports, I was the fastest runner of my middle school, literally, and fastest mile, and I was a great soccer player, a very passionate person, and I was like, I could have been great with soccer, man. Anyways, my mom signed me up for AYSO, but as a single mom, blah, 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 babysitters can't take you to games or practices or whatever. They have other kids to deal with and this and that, right? So anyways, couldn't, so I like went to my first game. I couldn't play because I didn't do any of the practices. So this is my revenge. I'm just joking. Yeah. So this is my fix, right? So I realized, well, if that's true for me as a lower income, single parent household, that's probably true for other lower income single parent households, right? Patterns, right? So and a lot of times, and those are a very vulnerable population for children. A lot of gangs prey on children in that demographic. So yes, basically, it's a bike sport. The kid can bike to the event, from home, and bike back home. It could be a completely a parent that's not involved at all, and the kid can get himself to the games, and it's incentivized by prizes, right? So I improved the scoring system, right? At first I was like, okay, first through fifth place get this tier, sixth through 10th place get that tier, but that's actually discouraging, because if you're in ninth place, you want the third place prize, and what's the point of even trying at that point? You know what I mean? That's the feedback I got with these kids. So I was like, okay, I got to redo this. I've been playing video games my entire life, so I can figure this out. So it's a milestone, right? So based off of marathon's 22.6 or something like that, 20 miles. I forget. That's off my head. But a quarter marathon is 6.6 miles, right? So every quarter mile, participation, you get an orange gem, right? 6.6 quarter mile, you get the red gem. Next one, you get the green gem, then the blue gem. And then my son's name is Indigo. Shout out to Indigo. So guess which the marathon token color is? Indigo color. That's right. Shout out to him. He's my boy. He's my number one. Anyway, so they collect these gems, and I get all these in-kind donations. I already got $1,500 worth of in-kind donations from between Trek and Patagonia. Brand new bikes, nice stuff. I'm talking about stuff that the kids actually want. I'm not talking about no stickers. I'm talking about AirPods, concert tickets, all that stuff. We want us to participate. We want everybody to be productive members of society and participate in our wonderful capitalism, right? But how are you going to do that? How are you going to work hard towards a career and an education if you don't know the end result? If you never tasted what that luxury of America is? What's the point of even trying? Right? Because I don't even know. Oh, it's a rainbow on the other side of that wall. Okay, cool. You know what I mean? Well, it's rainbow over here too. You know what I mean? Or whatever. You know what I mean? So it gives you a little. I like that aspect too. Cause it gives them a taste of American luxury. Good old fashioned American luxury that they earn. Because that's capitalism too. You work hard, you earn something, right? So anyhow, so to simplify that, because I'm going to need an economic university students to create valuations based off of tokens in circulation and retail value and prize amounts and things like that to do that. So I simplified it for this upcoming year to do gift cards, right? Where 50 miles within the quarter, 25 sessions, 27-ish, 50 miles, you get a $5 gift card. 100 miles, you get a $20 gift card additional. 200 miles, you get a 50 additional. So 200 total, you get $75 gift card. And yet we'll have all the different, stores and stuff that they like and all that stuff too. So all these kids are going to be like, yo, and so that 1,000, that 3,000, man, that's going to be like 10,000, man, next time. So I'm really excited about that. So I like this sentence. By the way, AI totally helped me here. I just gave him like 20 pages of my documents because I just typed forever because I talk a lot, whatever. I have a lot to say. And then it just bam, right here, concise words for you. The bike distance competition offers a comprehensive approach to addressing critical health and environmental issues. That's right. Because guess what? After middle school, we're also going to be doing it in elementary schools. We're also going to be doing it in high schools. We're also going to be doing it in colleges, right? So guess what? If you're biking to school and after school and yada, yada, and you're biking to college, guess what? You're going to bike to work too. Bam. There you go. And guess what else? And since we're talking about green transportation, and that's the culture, we're also going to talk about other ways of saving the environment as well, right? There you go. while empowering youth through an accessible and inclusive cycling program. So there you go. Yeah, it offers bridges the disparity of athleticism, of athletic self-identity even, right? Jeez, like I was an athlete, but I never identified as an athlete because of the circumstances I told you about. So anyways, but with this program, it would have saved so many of my friends' lives. And it will save many lives to come. So next slide, please. So, so what are we going to do from here, right? So we were an unincorporated nonprofit in 2012, and we got our 501c3 status. It's a funny story, but it's too long. But how I got that. But anyways, BUSD partnership. I'm working on the 3-year contract right now, so that's super cool. And then I want to expand to CVUSD. That's where my son goes to school out in Thousand Oaks. And then we're going to have paid bike coach positions as well. So the interesting thing about bike coach positions, right? Who's qualified for that? Someone that's super good at bikes or mechanic or whatever? No, absolutely not. That sure it helps a little bit, but sure, yeah, absolutely. But the core of parents is care, right? Caring about these kids. A lot of these kids don't hear a positive word their entire life, not at home, not with their peers, not with their teachers even sometimes. I used to have ADHD. I was very annoying. You know what I mean? So I mean, and when you tell a kid they're annoying, that it translates to you're unwanted. So that was my experience growing up as an ADHD kid, and there's other kids like that out there. And when they're isolated and alienated like that, it prevents mental health crises, right? Having somewhere to belong to, having a healthy place, having a positive word said to you, right? It's very important. So that's the most important part. Someone that's versed in child development or child psychology, somebody that is very bubbly and fun and encouraging and exciting and positive, super blippy, and just a super over the top nice person. That's what we're looking for. And it's $30 an hour. So, and you get to ride bikes for kids, with kids, encourage them, to succeed and all that stuff. So it's a pretty sweet job. I'll be recruiting out in the universities and stuff like that, and the Ventura College and stuff. So anyways, next slide. Oh, and so by next year, I want to develop my website completely, and the prizes and all that, the treasury, to be able to offer this program to every school district in Ventura County by next school year, right? So that's my goal. I'm going to do it. And then from there, we're going to go beyond Ventura County, right? Anyways, all over the place. So what we're all about, obviously, bike lanes and pedestrian safety, that's never going to go away. We don't, Bike Ventura, they started, they do help a little bit with bike lanes and pedestrian safety in the sense that that they put out surveys from the city government, and that's cool. But when I say I advocate for bike lanes, I'm not saying here's a survey. I'm saying, you know what? We need a bike lane, guys. Let's go. Sign this petition to get a bike lane. See the difference? Big difference. So, anyways, yes, moving on. Promote green transportation. Of course, we're going to be doing that. But I do love the bike hub. The bike education people in charge, Larry and Sergio, very unkind to me, and even my son. It's very terrible situations. I'm going to address it with city council. There's a third party mediator that even asked them to have their staff sign a hands-off policy because of a violation of their volunteer, and instead of moving forward and doing the responsible thing and doing that and creating, mitigating these potentials, they ended up just pushing me out, completely. And it's kind of ridiculous. And, there needs to be accountability for nonprofits that work with kids. That there should be training, in my opinion. The people that are working there now don't have any experience working with kids at all. Anyways, I I feel like there should be training, more safety training for kids, because you get people in there thinking that they could just touch and move kids or however they want or whatever, and that's not okay. So anyhow, so yeah, so me and Bike Ventura kind of, I don't want to say me and Bike Ventura separated, because I love Bike Ventura. I helped create Bike Ventura. I will always support Bike Ventura. I'm going to fundraise for Bike Ventura, but I will continue to advocate for change within the defaulted leadership that came to be once they open up. I'm not going to go on this rampage about Bike Ventura, but anyways, the rest of the board jumped ship, and anyways, so addressing childhood obesity does that. Yes. It gets them moving and stuff like that. Improves mental health. So we're going to start this kind of stake, this anchor within the community with the schools, with this bike competition, youth bike competition. From there, we're going to do a second project. We're going to do city parade flash mobs, bike visibility awareness flash mobs. We're going to be all wearing Bike for Cause t-shirts. We're going to be wearing capes. And we're going to go on every parade. I'm going to invite the community and all the kids and all the families to come and say, hey, watch out for us when we're on the road. Third project, we're going to have community. I'm going to offer it to the rest of the community. We're going to have our monthly bike events, kind of like the Rock for Cause, different charity every month. That's the deal. And then, but we're going to have like employee wellness program, all this fun stuff too. But anyways, next slide, please. Excellent. But yeah, so yeah, total miles, bam, across the United States, kind of fancy, right? It has a little asterisk there, pretty nifty, very cool. All right, next slide, but I think we went over that. All right, yes. So the jobs. So we went over this. So now I know better to save that for later. So we have encouraging participants. We have skill building focus. So yeah, they're going to teach the kids how to maneuver their pedals to allow safer turning and things like that. Event support. They'll help with our other events. Compensation. Expansion opportunities. We're gonna grow it beyond Ventura County, Santa Barbara County, and beyond. With this California grant too, that'll help support, because the idea is like the grant pays for the bikes and we kind of use the bikes. But we're also looking for funding to get our own bikes too, and our own bike fleets and trailers and all that. Yes, for school districts that don't want to purchase their own bikes or don't want to offer, our risk manager didn't want to let the kids bring their own bikes from home. Which is understandable, but other districts might be more willing to allow that too. So that could be some ideas. Having our own bikes will be good for private schools, boys and girls clubs, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, whatever. We can offer this program beyond the school district. And to school districts that don't have bikes. So, anyways, next slide, please. Thank you so much. All right, last slide. Thank you so much. Yeah, I should probably talk less about Bike Ventura. I didn't mean to put a damper on the room. Sorry about that, guys. It's all good. But anyhow, so yeah, timeline. Bike for Cause we established in Ventura. So the original founders, Rachel Morris and Toby, they're my friends. They're cool, but these people, they don't want to give me credit for helping found them. So, but whatever, it's fine. I have the newspaper articles and stuff to prove it, whatever. Anyways, so it's a little trauma. So we have 23 right here. That's a pilot year. And we're going to continue into the future to expand the distance competition to every community. That's that. So thank you so much. Is there any questions or anything like that? Q&A. Go. Questions or comments? Yeah.
Thank you. I actually didn't have a question, but I'll make one up. So for the future, the plans to expand the bike distance it's in competition with the schools, the different locations at each school.
I love that you highlighted the word competition, because that's what the insurance people and other people want to know about the most too, right? Well, I start the program with the kids telling them this is what what is the competition? Well, the competition is against yourselves, is against your own personal records. You're competing against yourself. You're competing against your personal records. You're trying to beat your previous record that you did last time. So with that, we will have cumulative scores as well for each school site. You know, for each middle school, they'll have their, scores, and they can compete against each other. Friendly competition never hurt nobody. It's all good. You know what I mean? But and it's all for health and wellness. Everybody wins really. So but yeah, and then districts can compete against districts, and cities can compete against cities, and counties, and yada yada. Maybe states and states. So that competitive aspect can expand. Yeah. All right. Any other questions or comments? Thank you for coming to my. Oh, you go.
So if they want to find out more, should we refer people to your social media or website or?
Yes, please. So to find out more, you could go to www.bikeforacause.org, and that's numerical 4. I also have some flyers, and you can find us on social media, Bike for a Cause. You can look me up. I blog, Carlos Landeros-Angel. I'm on Instagram at pizzadad805. There you go. And but yeah, definitely. And my email address for inquiries for interns, volunteers, and staff, board members, advisors, people, interested parties. We Carlos@bikeforacause.org. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause then. Right. I told the board this back at the beginning of the year when we were coming up with ideas, and maybe something for next year, but an idea for like a bike competition event around like the west side. We have this bike path, either that or a marathon of sorts, like running, or maybe even triathlon. But I'm thinking of like the preserve in the future, and then like linking down here with up there in some way. So I'm thinking of some ideas and stuff like that. But definitely appreciate the work that both of you are doing. New business, any announcements, suggestions, concerns, open comment period. Also, if anyone has anything else they want to add. Ron, yeah, like almost done.
Oh, for the Heirloom Expo, we're looking for a lot of volunteers. So for volunteers who volunteer for 4-hour stint, you get parking pass and free entry for the event. And then if you volunteer for 2 shifts, we give you a meal voucher. We have a number of different roles, like the stage manager or MC for one of 3 or 4 different stages that we're helping to manage, and help at the welcome booth, and assistant for the vendors and exhibitors, become a general handy person to smooth out everything so everything runs smoothly. So if anybody's interested, I can send you an email link with all the information. Thank you again.
Thank you, Ron. Helen?
I feel weird just squeaking in up here. I forgot where my camera is, so I'm just gonna stand right here. So on the WCDC side, we are working on now doing standardized drawings for garage conversion, junior, or I guess technically it's a junior additional dwelling unit, whatever. We'll have those available hopefully before the end of the year or at the start of the new year. And then we're also looking to finalize the rest of the drawings at that time. So for sure, it'll be a 600 detached ADU that will be standardized, ADA accessible, available for free use by all Ventura residents. So there'll be a lot to come. And I see Ron put his hand up. We are also going to advance any approved permits that were issued for ADUs using alternative construction materials, if that's what you're going to comment about. An additional dwelling unit, also called a granny flat, also sometimes called accessory dwelling unit. And sometimes it can be attached to the primary dwelling unit, or it can be separate. There should be a little bit, I think it's required like a 10-foot separation between the units if it's detached. That might be a little bit too much of the code. And then on the other side, gentle reminder for the community that the school districts will be making their surplus lands available for proposals. They've submitted a waiver to the state that will allow the greatest flexibility, avoiding a highest bidder takes all situation. So that's really great. On the WCDC side, we're advocating for flexible terms for the request for proposals to allow a kind of like Kellogg Park grassroots, true grassroots community development / revitalization project to occur. So the WCDC, we are like helping facilitate that project. We have no ownership. The deal that we're trying to negotiate on behalf of the community is that it will be available because the ultimate owner is going to be an operator of a special needs trade school. When it is not in use for the special needs trade school, it will be available for community use for classroom settings. So like myself, I'm credentialed up to a master's level for public policy and administration. If someone wanted to torture themselves and take a land use or public policy class, I could teach that class. We've already had a number of individuals who have come out saying they do business all over the world and want to teach like IT, coding, classically trained French chefs want to participate. So we're not just looking for spreading the word, but we're also looking for more community partners because I know you guys know it takes a village to get these things done. And it's been in the, making for decades and decades and decades. So that being said, I'm going to cut my update short now. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. Yeah, give that a round of applause. I'm sure we'll be having a presentation on all those updates at some point. But yeah, definitely the work does not end here. These are mostly updates, opportunities to provide feedback, workshops like for the preserve and Bike for a Cause hearing, all these great opportunities, but obviously being able to interact outside of this space to be able to provide those opportunities as well. But yeah, let the work continue. And I'll just plug this one last time. Helen read my mind. Definitely just save that date for our mural celebration in a couple weeks. Help spread the word. I can send you a digital copy of this flyer. Also, our own awareness campaign on the event and Taco Week in general. Come support our local businesses up and down the avenue. That concludes our meeting. Our next general meeting is Wednesday, October 2nd at 6:30. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming.